Entering the Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog. This is the Week 10 recap. We're guessing the spreads for week number 11 and what's in the box, a mystery box with Cust and Garion. Cust is in studio and he's going to be trying out what is in this mystery box, which is blocking Garion's face on one of the shots. But are you excited for the box?
I actually am quite excited for the box.
So I've informed Garion what is in here. There are 7 separate types of Diet Coke products in this box. And Cust, because he is not having a great day, will have his spirits uplifted because of that. That is the hope for this. How are you feeling about the Jets?
Frustrated to no end. They come off extra rest and they play miserably. I mean, I knew that things were in really bad shape when after the first half, Ulbrich came out in the interview and the sideline reporter asked him, the second question was, how do you feel about your offense? They scored 6 points in that half. And he said, I think the offense is playing great and they just need to, work on a couple of things and just keep producing. I was like, oh, okay. Well, this game is over then, because if you think that was a great performance, a good performance, what is there to hope for? And they scored no points in the second half. So I guess they didn't listen to his inspirational speech in the locker room. 31-6 when you had extra rest. They play great on Thursdays. They play miserably every other day of the week. I'm glad Rodgers had to play to the end. You don't get to cut and run when we're losing like that. Oh, no. You got to stick it out to the end and play just like everybody else. If I have to suffer through this, you have to suffer through this. Everybody has to be going through. I feel like I'm like Chevy Chase at the end of Christmas Vacation, where he's yelling at all the family members who are trying to leave the house. But that's what it feels like right now. It's literally the comedy of errors in the second half of that movie is what the Jet season is like. Except there's no good ending to this.
Garion, did you know that Cust told me that this is the most miserable team he has cheered for in 25 years?
That's recency bias.
No, because there were other years where they were more pathetic or they were more annoying. No, they weren't more annoying, but they were more pathetic or they were underperforming or they were foolish or silly things were happening. But there's nothing about this team that's warm and cuddly that you can wrap your arms around. Everything about this team is agitating. There's nothing to be excited about. You're like, oh my God, they're doing it again and again and again and again. It's really annoying. And yet the saddest thing of it all is, given who the AFC teams play next week, the Jets could be one game back of the playoffs again next week if they were to beat the Colts and the Broncos lose to the Falcons, and if the Bengals should lose. They could be still one game back. And that's how pathetic is that? That I'm not even allowed to leave the house. I have to keep watching too, because there's still that glimmer of hope that they might go 8-9 to make the playoffs, because that last AFC playoff spot is going to go to a really bad team. It's just I just wish they could just be done with, but they can't.
What's your Sunday like when the Dolphins don't play, Gary? And is it happier?
That's a good question. I would say it's easier for sure. I can kind of just watch games and not have to be stressed. Now, granted, I would say 50% of Dolphins games I've watched the last 15 years didn't have any bearing on a playoff spot or anything important. So you get pretty used to a meaningless Sunday. I enjoy sort of a Sunday free of the Dolphins. It's very freeing.
What did you shoot today?
I didn't play today.
Really? Was it rainy or something? You play every Sunday.
It was very rainy.
Okay.
It was very rainy in the city today, and this is the last weekend most courses are open, so that was unfortunate.
Did you expect going into Monday night that the Dolphins in Week 10 would be behind the Patriots in the standings?
No. Well, coming into the season, no. Knowing that Tua might have died, that seems like a very reasonable outcome. I don't know. Look, they have a very sort of, I guess I feel better about the Cardinals' loss from 2 weeks ago. Honestly, the thing that frustrated me the most today is Josh Allen playing such a terrible game. And I'm just like, just one time play a game like that against the Dolphins. That would be so nice.
He tried that in the playoffs, but you unfortunately had Skylar Thompson at quarterback.
He did, you know what? He did play terribly in that playoff game.
If the
That is
Dolphins
true.
win tomorrow, they're like probably the betting favorite for the last spot in the AFC playoffs.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
We did this last week.
No, no,
I said.
you don't have to believe. I don't have to think it's going to happen. I'm just telling you, the Dolphins at what would be 4-5 at that point.
No, they would be 3-7.
No,
At
maybe 3-6.
At 3-6.
3-6.
At 3-6, they would be 1.5 games back of the playoffs, and with a relatively soft schedule, they have to play the Jets twice. You have every opportunity.
7 days ago, you told me those are automatic Jets wins.
Well, they're maybe a little less automatic than I thought. I'm just saying, the Dolphins are 2-6. They'll be 3-6 with a win tomorrow if they should win. But they didn't have their quarterback for 5 weeks. So you can write some of those. I'm just saying the Dolphins got hot.
A lot of teams win games without their starting quarterback. Is something I've noticed.
Some
in the
teams
NFL
don't win
this
any games with their starting quarterback. That's what the Jets do.
that is
Unless you
awesome.
play on Thursday, you're in trouble.
You know what my favorite part of this game was? It was like a very small thing, but it was that that weird play where the Cardinals snapped the ball, but the Jets were maybe offside, and then they just were like, "Nah, it's just a wash. Don't worry about
They're
it."
like, it's just
That play
not a
didn't
play.
happen.
They said it wasn't a play, but then your guy tried to challenge it.
After the referee on the sideline saying, no, you can't challenge it. And he looked at him, and he just threw the
That's the
flag
thing.
anyway.
I'm not a John boy. I don't claim I can read lips all that well. That ref said you can't challenge this at least 5 times, and it was so funny. It was just he put the flag back in his pocket, and you could see him think about it for another 6-7 seconds. He's like, "No, I am going to challenge this."
And they brought Sterator on afterwards to talk about it, and he's like, I think the Jets were offside, but there was a snap and the play happened before they blew the whistle. I don't understand how that play didn't happen. It's how only the Jets could play in a game where, they get that fumble the way they played. I don't think it would have made a difference. But only they can play in a game where the snap just, they're like, I guess it didn't happen. I guess we're not going to count it. Let's have a do-over for fun. It's all just, it's just the most miserable team to watch. It's just miserable.
How much of that is on Rodgers?
It's not his fault today that the defense doesn't make a single
I
tackle.
feel like it's his fault. He makes it miserable.
He doesn't seem to be uplifting on the sidelines. I'll
They also
concede.
scored 6 points.
Yeah, I mean, the
at what
offense
point do
didn't
you not
score.
blame your starting quarterback.
No, look, the offense did not score, but again, missed tackle after missed tackle after missed tackle after penalty. The defense has just been atrocious. Whatever Ulbrich took over from Saleh to do, this defense has been markedly worse since Saleh left, even though Ulbrich called all the plays. I don't know, man. I started thinking today about Garrett Wilson is definitely leaving as soon as his contract's up. He's not re-signing in New York. That's not happening. Breece Hall is not coming back to New York. We're basically watching their prime years as a Jet just circle the drain because those guys are leaving when they can. And I can't say I blame them the way things have been.
We ran a poll in the live chat for the show right now. If you sub to Mayo Media Network, smash a like while you're here. You can participate in the live chat that's going on YouTube right now. Will the Jets make the playoffs? What would be your vote?
No.
No was 92%.
That's probably what the betting odd, the mathematical odds are. It's probably 5 and 8%.
Now,
Because everybody lost this week.
credit to you. You sniffed this out, didn't he, Garion, last week when he was praising Kyler Murray and praising Arizona, despite on the spread show saying that they had no chance to win against the Jets. But, you get to have both sides of the taker. Is Arizona actually good?
I still have questions, I think, about their defense, specifically their ability to get pressure on the quarterback.
Really?
I know it's looked better the last 2 weeks, but as we saw today in that Bears-Patriots game, anything that happens against that Bears offensive line doesn't really count. I know the Jets offensive line is healthy, but they haven't exactly been a sterling example of an offensive line for the last half decade either. That would be my concern. It's just, can the defense hold up? And again, it was a great game from Kyler today. He definitely brings some elements to the table that other quarterbacks don't, but I still don't have him as a top 10 quarterback.
Not a top 10 quarterback, Tim.
I don't agree, but I guess we sort of litigated this last week. I don't agree. He played that Kyler is a top 5 quarterback. That Kyler we saw today. Like
But
Kyler,
the funny thing is,
overall, is a top
even
10
being a fringe top 10 quarterback in the NFL, he might be still the best quarterback in the NFC.
He might be. I don't know that
There's not a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFC.
like right now for the rest of the season. I think I would still take Goff over him, and I think I would probably take Stafford over him. Fair enough. That might be it. That might be
I'm
the
just
NFC.
not sure. If you're going to put Goff ahead of him, how does he stay in your top 10?
Well, because Goff is squarely in the top 10 right now. He's having an MVP type season. And you're going to see, I'm sure, tonight when the Detroit scores 1 million points, like another example of that.
I guess my question about Goff versus Kyler was, if you put Kyler on Detroit, are they better? I think they might be.
Yeah.
I don't
100%.
know.
Goff is just best level Tua.
They're both first overall pick quarterbacks who haven't quite reached the heights people hoped they would, but have both settled into being like between 8 and 12 at worst in the NFL at quarterback. That's pretty darn good. That's kind of all you need. If you have a lot of other like exciting pieces around them, and both teams do.
All right, so just as a question here before we get to the Diet Coke, you were pretty excited when Kansas City blocked that field goal.
Well, yeah, of course, because this was like, I felt like the stars were aligning for the Jets. Like the Bills took care of the Colts. The Broncos threw away a game that they probably, most teams win 95% of the time because the Chiefs looked like they were just sort of jogging out there. It's like, oh, okay, this is finally all coming together. This is great. No, just a punch in the face from Arizona. Just completely like whack-a-mole. I came up to look for some air and bang! I was smacked right down. That's what happened to me.
They haven't given up a touchdown since Week 8 against Miami, Garion.
The defense is good. The Arizona defense has some really good pieces on it.
It does, but it feels a little smoke and mirrorsy.
They'll have their opportunities because the Rams will come back through them. The 49ers will come back through them. You know, they have everything on their racket. Like, they don't need to help. They don't need anybody's help to get like a 3 seed.
If you had,
I just feel like when you get into those, sorry, Pat.
I was
I was
gonna
gonna say when you get in those games against an elite quarterback where you just have to get pressure with your front four, I just don't think they have the capability of doing that.
But as
and
you
their
just-
secondary's fine, but
But as you just stipulated, they don't really play very many games against elite quarterbacks in the NFC.
sure. But I guess if we're just talking about them as like a true contender,
Well,
I don't know. Like,
no,
I don't think they can.
They can't win the
Chiefs
Super Bowl.
already.
You're right. They can't win the Super Bowl. I agree with you on that.
what do you think they are to win the division?
Plus 250?
Garion, any guesses?
I mean, I would say they're probably more like plus 150-ish.
Plus 225 because San Francisco is plus 120 now.
And the Rams are still there, and they haven't played yet.
The Rams are plus 350.
Yeah,
And the Seahawks are now 9-1 to win that division. I do want to talk about Kansas City for a second, though.
sure.
I envision next week against the Bills, Garion, either they lose or they return a punt with 0 seconds left, a la Deshaun Jackson, at the end of the game to just remain undefeated.
Yeah. They I don't know. Take some of these next gen stats with a grain of salt if you want to, but I'm assuming some what's that guy's name? Aaron Schultz or whatever, the DVOA guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure he's already got a tweet lined up for Tuesday that's like, the Chiefs are the worst undefeated team through 10 weeks in the history of DVOA.
But they're not even
They
they're
are
not,
really just getting by the skin of their teeth.
It's funny because per DVOA, they're not actually all that bad.
They're what, like 5th, 6th?
I think they're 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, again, they're fine. I just don't think they have the statistical profile of a team that's like undefeated.
Yeah.
But in the same thing you referenced in your tweet today, again, though, I look at it and go, that was a D+ effort. They weren't really trying. They are the closest thing in the NFL we have to an NBA team. They are the 2017 Golden State Warriors. They don't care. They don't need to care. They're just going to make the playoffs and they'll turn it on.
Does this eventually catch up with them, though? I guess is the question.
I would have thought last season was that season. I really, really did, with the way things kind of just absolutely imploded in December. That loss on Christmas Day to the Raiders, they looked absolutely horrendous, and it didn't matter at all in the playoffs. So again, at this point, I'm siding with the Chiefs until I have a reason not to, and until I have a reason to not believe that they can just flip that switch. And again, they will only get healthy. I mean, I guess they could get unhealthy in the process, but in theory, they will only continue to get healthier. I mean, Pacheco, Hollywood Brown, like this could get more dangerous at some point.
Did you learn anything about Denver in this game?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly a lot better than the terrible team they were last week. But I mean, they're like a 7th or 8th team in the AFC. Like they're a legit playoff contender because the AFC is so poor. They're like right there. They're in the mix. Like they're like the Chargers are like the cutoff. Like you have 6 teams in the AFC that I think we can pretty squarely say at this point are making the playoffs. And then I think you'd be hard pressed to imagine the Chiefs, the Bills, the Texans, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Chargers missing the playoffs at this point. I think it could happen and it could go on like a 7-game losing streak. But I think, pretty comfortably speaking, those 6 teams are kind of in the barn. That last spot is a free-for-all of really flawed teams. And Denver is every bit as good as any of those other flawed teams with some good wins on the resume.
Okay, you can't say Cincinnati as the answer to this question, Garion. But between the 5-5 Broncos, the 4-6 Colts, the 3-7 Jets, 3-7 Patriots, and hell, we'll say Miami wins tomorrow night. They're 3-6. Which of those teams do you think gets the final spot?
Oh,
because I'm sure, asked objectively, everyone would say Cincinnati.
well, okay. I'm not going to answer Cincinnati, but I will say Cincinnati does have it all ahead of them because they still have 2 games against Pittsburgh. So if they can sweep those 2 games, they're giving themselves at least a shot. It's got to be the Broncos. I just think I feel like I don't want to say overly negative about them last week. I just think I was frank about what my ceiling with that team is. I think they are a team that gets that first game on the Saturday of the wild card slate and just gets absolutely kicked by a good team. Like Bo Nix has actually been relatively fine the last couple of weeks. He made an amazing throw to set up that field goal on a 3rd down. Like he's showing me a little bit more than I was maybe expecting, but I just my faith in their offense is very, very low. But I think they could certainly make the playoffs because they know exactly who they are. They lean on their defense. Generally, they're a pretty good special teams team. That didn't work out today. But no, I think they have a clear identity. What I wanted to ask Tim, because I was thinking about this the entire 4th quarter of that game, is it time to give Sean Payton any credit?
I mean, yes, absolutely. It is. Like he's obviously, I don't think Bo Nix is that good. I think he's maximizing the talent he can get out of Bo Nix. They're not making little mistakes. Yeah, absolutely. This Broncos team
is maximized Jones.
Yeah, I think this Broncos team is playing at the highest that it could play right now, and he is definitely one of the significant reasons why.
If you are just tuning in and have not been scanning online, Nico Collins is not playing in the Sunday Night Football game against the Lions, which brings me to my question: who's not scoring the first touchdown tonight?
Montgomery.
Flea market?
Yeah.
You take him to the market. Plus
Just like a minimum.
plus 450, David Montgomery to score the first touchdown in this game.
Addison did score the first offensive touchdown last week.
That is true.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Now, let's raise your spirits a bit.
All right. I don't think my spirits are in bad shape, by the way.
You're actually taking this much better than I would have assumed.
I've been prepared for a while.
But it's time for the DC challenge. So I need you to stand behind the box right here.
Okay.
And remember to not look at the screen over there.
I promise I won't.
So you don't know what is what. So
I will not
here's
look.
what we got in the box. And I have my cheat sheet in front of me of what this is going to be. So do you see the number 1 on there?
I do.
Take a sip. What do you think is on the other end of that straw? I'm going back for seconds. Must be good.
I think that's a Fountain DC.
That is a regular can of DC Coke.
Okay. See, I don't have the baseline to judge it off of, but now I do.
Okay. So let's go to number 2. 0 for 1. Wow.
Glass DC.
That is a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke.
It tastes better than the can.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
I just want Tim to get a fair shake here. I feel like most times people like try all of them before they start giving out answers.
Yeah, but I'm glad to know that this is the can because that's like my default.
We also don't have all day, Gary.
No, fair enough.
That is true.
Okay, so 2.
Number 3.
That Coke Zero?
That is Mexican Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Not Diet. That was the one that's not Diet Coke.
I could tell it wasn't Diet Coke right away. Yeah, it didn't have the same taste profile.
All right, number 4.
That is Fountain DC.
That is a mini can, or a regular can as we call it, of Diet Coke.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to 1%.
Self-proclaimed super taster.
This one is a little sweeter than that one.
Well, maybe in the mini can it's different than the regular can. At number 5.
Is that the Fountain?
That is a small bottle.
But this one is really good. That's why I say that. This
Oh.
one's really good.
So you really like Fountain then?
This one is really good.
All right, you're 0 for 5 here. I'm not doing well with my bet with
No.
Jared of how this was going to go.
I told you I did not have a good feeling about this. Although I kind of feel like I'd get this one. I knew it was the non-Diet Coke.
I mean, it should. It has.
So I feel like I get that one.
Okay.
So is the thesis here that Diet Coke tastes substantially different based on its packaging?
I guess so.
Yeah, or it just tastes exactly the same, like Fountain Diet Coke, apparently.
Yeah.
Number
okay,
6.
Great.
Number 6.
That's ice cold. I'm gonna say that's from like a 1 liter bottle.
That's the Fountain.
Is it really? I guess the ice must have melted it. That one's ice cold. It's not actually as flavorful.
All right. You got one more left.
Okay, number 7.
Number 7 is in the middle.
That one's an intense flavor. Is that a can of DC as well?
No, that is a 2-liter bottle of that non-caffeinated stuff. The gold.
Oh, okay.
DC.
Okay.
Oh, the gold DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The grandmother special.
All right.
Well, that's a 0 for 7.
1 for 7.
I don't know if I'm going to give you that one.
I knew it was different than the rest.
You didn't guess what it was.
It's pretty close.
Well, all of them have aspartame instead of sugar. That one has sugar. It should taste significantly different.
Yeah. That was a fun challenge.
You like that? Well, you got to have DC.
I'd like to have a challenge where I had like various actual flavors.
Of what?
Like a Diet Coke, a Coke,
Coke
Zero,
Zero.
the regular Coke, like Big 8 Cola, Pepsi,
Yeah.
and like really test, can I differentiate DC amongst other DCs? Because like it's hard for me to pick a favorite DC amongst. I love all DCs, so it's hard to pick against a DC. I think that's like a really high level challenge to start out with.
Many are saying you're a fake DC super fan.
I would hazard to say that it is very. I guess I should have guessed the Fountain one because of how cold it was. I should have taken a moment to think the ice that would have been in it has been melting, and that's why it's so cold. But you said we were in a crunch for time, so I just flipped my brain off and I was rushing, and that's why I didn't think.
Also, it was the 7th pick. You'd already gotten the answers to the first 6.
No, it was the 6th pick. The 7th one was the
non-caffeinated.
uncaffeinated.
But here's the thing.
Oh, right. Still.
Did you like them?
I liked them, but I liked them all slightly different.
Because none of them are actually Diet Coke. It's all Pepsi.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It is. You can look in there. It's all Pepsi. Don't knock it out. Jesus Christ, don't knock it over. I was just kidding.
I was gonna say, there's no way. There's no way.
Just don't knock it over.
There's no way.
We don't need everything to fall down here.
I was gonna say, I think.
Tim got in a Pepsi rage and broke the studio.
No, I mean it's funny. We were talking about this in the studio house. Garion, do you remember the Pepsi challenges at like malls?
I never saw one. I remember the commercials though. I
Okay.
remember the promotional sort of thing.
Jared
yeah.
had no conception of this. Didn't know about it. Didn't realize it was a thing.
It's
had never
something that happened like
participated.
the early 90s.
Everybody,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
everybody did the Pepsi
I am
challenge.
the connect.
He wasn't
You and I are
alive.
the same age.
What do you want him to do? Take a time machine?
It's a very famous thing.
To you, apparently. Anyway, let's talk about Washington and Pittsburgh. Jared, do you want to come and get these? We'll see how that works. This is actually my moment of the day from this game when the special teams coach was shown on the sidelines, Garion. Be careful there. Yeah. You can lift it straight up.
Oh, it's stuck.
Oh, it's stuck? That's not good.
Uh-oh.
Maneuver.
Tell you what. Oh. This is Jared's moment of truth.
It is.
He needs this.
Feel really good about it.
Just gonna take the bottle.
So well executed.
There we go.
So well
Nice,
executed.
nice.
There you go. Well
See,
done.
the 2-liter bottles wouldn't fit under there, so you get them in. Oh, just. pounding that back.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, you can leave these here for the moment.
He might need something to wash down his meal.
I don't know if there is an MRE. I think this was
No,
the MRE.
this was the MRE
Yeah, that's what
for
I
the day.
presumed this was.
Mario, okay.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Washington and Pittsburgh, though, Garion.
Game of the day.
Jaden Daniels did not play well in this game.
No.
Does that worry you that going up against such a strong defense and they really went out of their way to make sure that he didn't run whatsoever? But they had every chance to win this game. They were a few drops away from really getting up in this game too.
Yeah. No, that was God, that game just reeked of Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
That just put that game tape as his resume for the rest of his life. But I almost put it oh my God. I almost have Tomlin now as that not Belichick disciple, the wrong word. But when we used to be like, oh, Belichick versus a rookie quarterback, just write it off. I feel like Tomlin's sort of kind of taken that mantle. But as you say, there were several moments in that game where I know he slightly underthrew Noah Brown on that final drive on the 3rd and 9, but that clanked off his numbers. He could have easily caught that, and we're probably talking a little differently about this. But Pittsburgh's defense is good, and I think that there's also a case to be made that might have been the worst spot I've ever seen. I'm not saying that they got
that was
the
a
first
fair
down.
spot. That was a fair
No,
spot.
the spot itself was a bad spot. I don't know if he had the first down or not, but they put him
But they marked it to
significantly
42.
Yeah,
behind where
okay,
he was.
fair enough. Fair enough. I feel like either which way, he was short of the line to make. So
Look, my argument is not that he was definitively past the 41, but he was at the 41. I have never thought more about Jeff just sitting in a room, probably high, getting really, really mad at the old men, our fathers who mark the football, because that was a full yard behind where it should have been. I at least thought they were going to come back out and go, okay, we're respotting it. We'll bring out the chains. But no, they were just like, nah, we got that one completely right.
So when they ran their fake punt in the first quarter, second quarter, whatever the hell it was, on their own 15-yard line, they cut to and it should have worked.
It should have.
in
It was a
fairness.
perfect play.
Yeah.
It didn't. It seemed unnecessary to try it at that point in time, but it did show you that they were scared of the Washington offense.
Absolutely.
At least at that point in time. That's at least what it told me. But then they cut to the sidelines to show the old man, who is the special teams coach for the Steelers, and he had a big bruise or a cut on the side of his face. Now, I was wondering, Gary, do you think that was an old man spot? When people get old?
Could also
or
just be a birthmark.
could be a birthmark. That's true. Yeah, we do want outs on this
It
one.
could be
after what's
anything.
happened
I don't
before.
have any comments.
The other one that it could be, or does he get too fired up in practice and puts on the gear and shows him how it is, and he got cut doing it?
You know how sometimes just old people have nicks and bruises on them and they don't even really know why? I was kind of thinking along those lines. The best part about that, though, because I assume you guys just have all the game feeds going on your own little Octobox.
Yes.
But I was watching Bills Colts on my TV, and then I had Red Zone going on my laptop. And they cut to that game, and they were a little late. They missed the play. They ended up showing a replay of it, but they cut to the live feed of that game as he was, oh my God, Tim. As he was just bouncing up and down the sideline. And it looked kind of like he was happy. So Scott Hansen immediately was just like, oh my God, the Steelers just pulled off an amazing special teams play. And then they showed the replay and he was realizing in real time that the guy dropped it. What was that, a Kit Kat, Tim? What is that? Yeah. Are you eating a Kit Kat like a savage and you're not breaking off the little pieces?
That is how he's doing it, yes.
I was taught when I was young not to play with my food, Garion.
All right, fine.
Did
Yeah.
you think it was good justice that what Jeff and I talked about on the spread show of why Pittsburgh gets Mike Williams? Just throw him a jump ball. He'll go up and get it.
Yeah, it was a nice catch. That was just such a weird game. There were points when Wilson looked terrible, and then he really did salvage it with that throw. And yeah, that was Mike Williams' 9th snap of the game. How did that make you feel, Tim?
Extremely.
That Mike Williams
annoyed.
outscored the Jets today.
They could have used Mike Williams today.
Yeah, well, I guess he learned how to run the right route in the last 3 weeks or the last 3 days.
Maybe he was running the right routes all along, and it was the guy getting him the ball who was the problem.
As I said on the show, I think last week, I wish him well. I wish all these people who leave the Jets well. I have no ill will, but like really right away, come on. He's just so happy to be free from that, I guess. Can I say I blame him?
Well, someone pointed out on Twitter today that there was a couple plays where it looked like Devontae maybe ran the wrong route, and Aaron was almost kind of like, it's fine. It's all good, buddy. And then, like, Mike Williams, if he breathed the wrong way, Aaron Rodgers was, like, yelling at him and just giving him the air. And it's just like, he legitimately loves Devontae Adams and maybe no one else.
Don't people
RFK, Devontae Adams, and that's it.
People treat their friends differently than their non-friends, I guess. I can't get, like, on the list of grievances I bear against the Jets, that is so far down the list.
Well, let me throw it to you guys. If you were to, like, I'm doing my power ranking show tomorrow. Obviously, now I'm going to move Pittsburgh ahead of Washington, although I thought it was a pretty close game. You still don't believe in Washington, though?
No, I still think that team is not, like, in the elite class.
Is Pittsburgh?
No.
So
I don't.
So they're on a tier below with Garion. Do you agree with Tim?
I mean, I'm curious. I would say I have Detroit and Kansas City on their own tier.
I think I have the Ravens with them.
I think the Ravens are pretty close. The Ravens are ahead of the Bills, but they're similar to.
Yeah, I think I would have the Ravens third, and then I think then there's the gap, and you've got Buffalo,
Chargers.
Chargers were really
Chargers
really
are on
impressive.
that. No, but they're on that Steelers Commanders.
I think
tier,
I agree.
I would say.
I think I agree, but Herbert's quietly having a fascinatingly impressive season.
But
Considering
in
the
that
weapons they have, I'm quite impressed with what the Chargers have done through this many weeks. They're not making the little mistakes. They're like taking care of business. And the only game where things sort of unraveled and Harbaugh unraveled was that Monday night game, and they bounced right back from it. So I'm impressed with the Chargers seem like the type of team with good defense and a really good quarterback and a smart coach that can win one or two playoff games and can like destroy some stuff in the AFC.
They're a better version. They're a better version of the Broncos because they have Justin Herbert.
They are a better version of the Broncos. And like Jim Harbaugh's every bit the coach, if maybe not better than Sean Payton, at least every bit as good a coach. If I were a Chargers fan, I'd be pretty excited about my potential, because this is not the year they're supposed to take the big leap into being a contender. I think they're going to overachieve this year and like be in a really special spot going into next season.
They haven't beat anyone good yet. They beat the
That's not their fault.
No, but they've played three teams that you'd rate as pretty good to really good, and they've lost all three of those games. They lost to the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Cardinals. Now, those games were close. They could have won any of those games. Herbert got hurt against the Steelers, but the Raiders, Panthers, Broncos,
And he was hurt
Saints,
against the Chiefs.
Browns, and Titans.
And he was hurt against the Chiefs. They barely move.
Sure, but these are the games that they lost.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, they have Cincinnati next week. I really like the Chargers'
Cincinnati,
chances.
Ravens, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa.
Those are some challenging games.
And by that point, Tampa will have Evans back at the very least.
And we were talking in the room, like how disappointing how bad we feel for Tampa. They're a 4-6 team that should be a 7-3 team.
Well, let's talk about Tampa and Atlanta just for 1 second. So obviously, we'll get to the Niners in a second, but Tampa could have won that game, although they got massively outplayed by the Niners.
Yeah.
Niners missed 3 field goals. They basically doubled their yardage.
San Francisco's a sloppy team.
And Atlanta loses to New Orleans. Because apparently,
I warned you all.
All you need on New Orleans is a really, really fast receiver, and it opens up the entire offense.
Well, MVS would look great for the Jets. Just bring them back. Bring them all back.
Get Mercedes Lewis on there?
Sure. Bring Greg Jennings back.
But if you're Atlanta, like, they have a bunch of coin flip games coming up. Like, they play Denver and they play Minnesota. Like, they could they could win those games pretty handily.
They have like similar to Buffalo. They just have a pretty comfortable cushion right now. They can afford to lose some of those games because no one's going to catch them from behind.
Okay, so do you think potentially, Gary, and there are 3 losses left for Atlanta? Because they could probably lose to anyone, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This to kind of like turn this sort of back to what we were just talking about too, where you have that tier of like Washington and Pittsburgh and the Chargers. the reason you'd want to be Washington in this sense is they might not be an elite team in terms of the NFL, but I would say with how wide open the NFC is, the fact that anyone can beat anyone on any given day. I guess the Eagles have sort of solidified themselves as well, aside from the Lions, but the Eagles have sort of solidified themselves in that number 2 spot in the last couple of weeks. But beyond that, like, yeah, I don't trust the Falcons. I don't really trust
The Vikings.
Oh, you can't trust
yeah,
the Vikings.
at all,
Oh.
obviously.
That's going to end. I don't know when that's going to end, and maybe it'll be in the playoffs, but that is going to end very painfully for all involved. Just telling you now, when that fight, if they get eliminated in week 18, or if they lose in the first round, like Darnold is showing you all the warning signs of what you need of like a Jake Delhomme or Joe Flacco-esque 5-pick playoff loss. It is coming. It's just a
But the
question
way
of
you
when
were
it's
talking
coming.
about the Chargers, where it's like this wasn't the year. Like I think every Vikings fan on the planet is like, we are way over our skis right now. Like we did not think we'd be
Sure.
in this position. Like they were. Look, prognostication is not something that every fan kind of dives into, but like the Vikings were predicted to be maybe one of the 5 or 6 worst teams in the NFL this season. You know, they've already, to an extent, depends how much you believe in McCarthy, but they've already got their quarterback of the future. He'll be back next season. Like, I don't know. I think they're kind of just playing with house money. I don't necessarily. Now, the Vikings have a history of just absolute heartbreak in the playoffs. So obviously a 5 interception game would hurt, but I don't know. I think Vikings fans are just kind of along for the ride this season. I don't think anyone's looking at Darnold going, this guy's the future.
You're along for the ride till you're in the playoffs, and you know you're like the 5 seed, because Detroit has the division, and you're feeling excited, and you're playing Atlanta, and next thing you know, Darnold throws 4 picks, and you lose the game.
Well, it might not be Atlanta. This is what I wanted to get to. They ran a play on 4th and 4 that wasn't past the sticks against New Orleans today to lose the game. Didn't lose in the game.
You can't
That
trust. You
ended
can't
the
trust
game.
them. But there's no one else good enough behind them to catch them.
So Tampa is 9-1 to win the division right now, and they have to get ahead of them because they lost 2-0 in the season series. But here is Tampa. They go on bye week this week, so they're going to get Evans back coming out of it, presumably, and probably Jalen McMillan as well. They go Giants, Carolina, Vegas, Chargers, tough game, Dallas, Carolina, New Orleans.
They'd be favored in every one of those games but one.
And they could beat the
Where
Chargers.
is the Chargers game?
That I don't know. I'd have to go.
I mean, not that the Chargers have a massive home field advantage or anything, but
But that's the only game that they're probably.
That is a super, super soft schedule.
So if they could go
And they're
6-1,
9-1?
they're 9-1 right now, and they're 4-6.
They could get to 10-7. The question is, can Atlanta get to 9-8? Because that's what Atlanta would have to get to not make the playoffs.
So Atlanta has 3 softies, and you'd probably need them to lose.
And they have 5 wins?
They have 6 wins. They're 6-4.
So yeah,
They need to lose each of their coin flip-ish games. They're at the Broncos, at home against the Chargers, at the Vikings, and at Washington. If they lose those 4 games, Tampa can run the table here and win that division.
yeah.
It's unlikely. That's why it's 9-1.
It could be a Houston and Jacksonville thing of last year.
And that's
It could-
assuming
it
that
could
they
happen.
that's assuming they win at the Raiders or beat the Giants at home or the Panthers at home.
Yeah,
Who
no,
knows?
I suppose it's not impossible. I think 9-1's probably the right odds for that because they have to
I
win all
agree.
these games. And
But when I noticed the schedule quirks with that, I
yeah,
thought
that is a
was
super
interesting.
soft schedule. I'm trying to think on the back end of the NFC for the playoffs. Like if we assume Philly, let's say Philly wins, for the sake of argument, if Philadelphia wins the division, then Washington, Minnesota, and then who's the last playoff team?
It's Green Bay right now, but the Niners are actually a game back.
Yeah, so someone okay. So
And if the Rams win on Monday night, they're also
so
a
long
game
story short, there's no space for a second NFC South team. So
back. Unless they go 6-1 to finish all their games, like all those other, like there's 3. We just counted 3 NFC West teams and 3 NFC North teams. Like they're all going to play each other.
yeah.
So if Tampa can run it off a little bit, they could get it. Maybe
Sure.
to make the playoffs is probably. Although if they make the playoffs, you're probably right. It probably
Yeah.
is the
I
division.
think it's division or bust.
But they also have to win these games.
Well, yeah, they have to win these games exactly.
All right. Well,
I
that
don't know if
brings.
it's division or bust. Like if they get 10 wins, like I think there's a pretty there's going to be some cannibalization of some of these teams at a certain point.
Yeah.
Like the Rams and I guess the Niners will be fine, but like
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, I don't think 3 NFC West teams are making it. I guess it really depends on the Packers and their health, but like you just talked about the Vikings, like, they could just completely implode at a certain point. Who knows?
Yeah, but they tried to implode the last 2 weeks and won both those games. Like that's a good sign if
Well-
you're like hoping for them to make the playoffs. Like they
I
had
think
no right
Jacksonville
to win.
was doing their best not to win that game.
Oh well, Jacksonville's also terrible, just terrible.
A reminder to everyone, now that we're at the midway point here, to smash like and sub to the channel, and I want you to hear a little bit about the new sponsor to the Pat Mayo Experience coming up right now. We're at the time of year where people are going to ask you what you want for a gift, and you're going to say, I don't want anything, or I don't know. Here's an answer. Doer. My Doer pants I got last week are the most comfortable pieces of clothing that I own. I got a pair of denim stretch jeans and these joggers. These joggers are amazing. You get them in a whole bunch of colors, but they don't look like joggers. So when you go out into public, I mean, we would wear crappy jogging pants out in public because they're so comfortable all the time, but then people see you're like, who is this absolute goober walking around in his joggers wearing his pajamas? No. The Doer joggers look so good. They are lightweight, they are stylish, they are relaxed, and beyond anything, they again are the most comfortable things I own. I wore them like 3 days in a row, which is a lot for a pair of pants. I absolutely love my Doers, and I know you're gonna love them too. Check out Doer's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopdoer.com/PME. Right now, here's the thing. My listeners, you good people, listening to the Pat Mayo Experience, get 20% off your first purchase when you use my exclusive URL, shopdoer.com/PME. This is an awesome deal. Don't wait. Go get 20% off right now at shopdoer.com/PME. Welcome back. Question for you. Who's worse, Garion? Dallas with whoever the hell is playing quarterback for them, either Cooper Rush or Trey Lance the rest of the season, or this Jacksonville team with Mac Jones?
Oh, I think Jacksonville. Yeah. Like they're going to be in a place where they're just going to start actively trying to lose games, right? I mean, they do have a semi-competent pass rush, so that's nice. But oh my God, are they terrible? Like I would assume Doug is the next coach fired, right?
I
don't think any more coaches are getting fired this regular season. I think they'll just wait it out now. Then I said that last week, and Dennis Allen got fired. So I'm like,
I mean, McCarthy and Doug Peterson, I think, get to have the rest of the season because they lost their quarterbacks for the year now.
I think so. They're both Super Bowl
That's
champion
true.
head coaches too. So I think their teams are going to give them the respect to finish the year out.
And Mike McCarthy will probably be Dallas's head coach next year too, for reasons unknown. Who knows? I don't even know what
He's going to really hit the books this offseason, you know?
No,
Learn that modern NFL.
I think that divorce is already finalized. They're just waiting for the weeks to pass.
The Jags and Broncos jerseys today,
Oh,
bad. And very confusing, despite the fact they didn't look like each other. I kept getting them confused on all the screens.
horrible.
The Jags especially, really bad.
White helmet, black jerseys with a little bit of teal. The whole thing was terrible.
They've had some bad jerseys honestly, their entire existence. But
No, their original ones were nice. The teal
With
with
the
a little bit of
actual
gold.
Jaguar, yeah.
That was a really nice uniform. The helmet, the black with the logo on it. That was a really
yeah,
nice.
but that
looking
helmet
uniform.
they had where it was like the sort of like gold.
That faded into black. Oh,
Yeah, like
terrible.
Oh God,
Just terrible.
gross.
What else do I have? Oh, yeah, Caleb Williams. 9 sacks against a team without a pass rush. Garion?
Yeah, I mean that offensive line is really bad, but he is just looked so bad. And there was like a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. It seemed like maybe he had turned the corner. I can't remember if it was like week 4 or week 5. He had that really good performance. And then there was kind of this run that the Bears were going to go into where they just had soft defense after soft defense, specifically in the secondary. And he has just been able to do nothing with that.
Everything has just gone off a cliff after the Hail Mary.
That's true.
Changed the whole season.
Yeah.
Just the bottom fell out, and that was it.
And that was a game they got pretty dominated in
Yeah.
anyway.
But, like, what can you say? Not a great performance. He's still a rookie. They can't protect for him. And I still don't think the Patriots are anywhere close to the worst team in the NFL. And they keep showing that they're in nearly every single game they play. And, like, I know the coach said they're a soft team. I don't actually think they are. I actually think they're a relatively tough team. And they're a tough out week in, week out, outside of, like, 2 games where they were handled. Like, they're in games against decent teams. So, like, I don't know what else to say.
They're one. Who caught that pass? Was it Hunter
Polk?
Henry?
No, it
No,
wasn't.
no, no,
It was
no.
Hooper.
It was Austin
Austin
Hooper.
Hooper. We know what the catch you're talking about.
No. I'm talking about the game they lost to the Dolphins.
Oh, with
where
the heel
Hunter
toe.
Henry
Jalen-
almost got his foot in the end zone, and they'd be in the playoffs right now in the AFC.
Totally. That Patriots team, while it's not great at all, it's a bad team, it's not a horrific team.
So Cust said earlier that they were the best bad team. Would you power rank them number one of the bad teams?
No, I think the Dolphins are the best. Bad.
Well, okay. It seems to me
You rank you don't consider Miami a bad team.
I don't consider them on the level of the Giants or the
They have 2
Panthers.
wins.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
week 10. They have 2 wins.
If they lose this week, tomorrow night, okay, I guess you could put them in that group and say they're the best of the bad teams. I just kind of penciling in a Dolphins win tomorrow night, and so I do.
They don't need the curse right now.
I think indoors on that fast track, I hope somebody can scare Buffalo a little bit down the stretch. So I hope it's you.
Oh, that dream's dead. Buffalo's going to have this thing clinched by Thanksgiving.
Well, they play the Bills.
Everything you've always wanted.
Yeah. Well, they play the Chiefs this week. They'll probably lose that game. So maybe we'll see.
I don't know. I'm with Pat. I think Buffalo wins that game.
No.
And then I think.
Well,
then
we'll
I think
see what the
Chiefs beat
spread
Bills
is.
in
But
the playoffs.
if the Chiefs are a dog, and they may be, we'll discuss it, I guess, when we pick them. Like, I will not be picking against the Chiefs on the spread show as dogs, as I said when they were the dogs against the Niners, when it made no sense. That if you make the Chiefs an underdog in the game, you're just a fool to lay points against them until you're proven otherwise.
And they win every game, so that's helpful.
They win every game. Hard to bet, them to lose games when they're getting points.
Did you guys watch much of the Munich game this morning?
No, very little.
Garion?
Yeah, not much.
I watched all of it. The Panthers 2 weeks in a row now have come out with their scripted set for the first 2 drives and look competent offensively. I guess their first drive wasn't all that good, but their second drive they marched the ball down the field and kept it going. And they just did nothing the rest of the game. Fortunately, this week, Hubbard was able to just keep the sticks moving on the ground. They didn't have to ask Bryce Young to do too much, but every time they did, it's just horrible.
The Giants.
Yeah. Well,
the Giants.
Sorry, so I was just going to say there was no better example of that than the Jaguars today.
Yeah.
Who you were for a half second you're like, wow, maybe this is like a different Mac. Maybe they've actually found something. And then as soon as they ran out of those scripted plays, did they get 50 more yards the rest of the game?
Who? Carolina?
Jacksonville. Like if you take out their first drive, did they have 50 more yards than that?
Ooh, that I don't know.
Probably had more yards on interception returns.
And your boy who you traded for, Tank Bigsby, got hurt.
Yeah, I know.
And Tim he threw in Austin Eckler to someone in our keeper league, Garion, for free because he sucked, according to Tim. Best 2 games of the year.
Because Robinson's not playing, but yeah.
Still happened.
Yeah, it did happen.
Tim, next week's our basement championship, isn't it?
I think so. Well, if you lose to me, that's very shameful. My team is real bad. At least I can play Emmanuel Davis again next week.
His name isn't Emmanuel Davis.
What's his last name again?
You've fucked it up so many times now that I can't even remember what it is. It's Emmanuel.
I don't even know who you're talking
A
about.
third-string running back
Green
on the
Bay's
Packers.
third-string running back.
Emmanuel Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah, I play him almost every week. I think he's actually good. He's waiting for him to break out.
He doesn't touch the ball.
He did last week. He had a touchdown,
Doesn't
remember?
Chris Brooks get more touches than him?
Yeah, Brooks. Since Brooks has come back, he's now been in the number 2 role behind Josh Jacobs. Either way, do you guys want to get to the spreads for week number 11?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's do it. Paul, do you want to rig this up?
Oh, yeah.
Rigged?
We got the Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles, Thursday Night Football.
Now, Garion, since you're the guest, you get to pick your spot here. Where would you like to pick?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to say Eagles by 3.
Nope.
It's got to be a half point up or a half point down. The Eagles roll. The Eagles have been rolling. Eagles by 3.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. There we go.
Gone higher.
What's that?
I think the line should be higher.
Really? I actually like Washington in this game.
Not on a short week with a rookie quarterback. I don't know. I think the Eagles win this game by 7 or more. I like the Eagles.
Their defense has gotten that was
Yeah.
one thing we didn't talk about earlier with Washington. Their defense has really impressed me the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I know they gave up some big plays today, but
Washington's or Phillies?
The first couple of weeks, I thought they were going to be the worst defense in the NFL, and they've actually been fine. And they're getting a lot of pressure.
Pittsburgh gashed them on the ground. That's how they kept that game relatively close. They were just able to continuously move the sticks the entire time.
Barkley seems like he was kept pretty fresh today.
That he was.
I expect him to do great things against Washington. I just don't think they're in the same class. We'll see. I expect Philadelphia to eat Washington for lunch, which, again, if you're a Washington fan, great. You're happy to hear me say bad things about your team. But, I don't think you're there yet.
I mean, they have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 blowout wins in a row. The Eagles do.
Yeah.
They beat the Giants, killed them. They put up a bunch of points against the Bengals. They crushed. Actually, they only beat Jacksonville by 5, and then the Cowboys they crushed today. There's no the Bengals are good,
Yeah.
but they also haven't beat a good team all year.
No.
And we know their defense sucks. So this will be.
Yeah, terrible.
I can just see this being like a haymaker game.
Maybe, but it's Thursday night, so it'll be like 13-10.
I don't know, man, because I think we all thought last Thursday was going to be
Yeah,
the
true.
exact game it turned out to be, and early on it was like, oh no, this reeks of Thursday, like no one's executing, and then suddenly there was just like, no, these two offenses are too
Yeah.
good.
All right, next game, Paul.
Jags at Lions.
Oh boy,
Oh
Lions. We haven't had a line over 14 yet, have we, this year?
no,
All right, so maybe it won't be 13.5. Detroit.
Nope.
13 for
Ding,
Detroit.
ding, ding.
Nice.
I think that's the biggest spread we've had all year,
Too
right?
low. It's too short.
I think it's too low.
It's got to be 14 and a half. I wouldn't even consider taking Jacksonville until it got over 14 and a half.
And that'll definitely get over 14.
Has to. I don't know.
Well, if it passes 14, what does it go to? 16.5?
Yeah, I just don't know who's taking back Jacksonville at that point. Maybe you do it 14 and a half. I think that's the number.
Okay. Next game.
We got the Ravens at the Steelers.
You're up first. Did they have the guts to make the Steelers a favorite?
No, I don't think it's even close. I think it's Ravens. Is it by 3 or 3.5? Ravens by 3.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think that spread's too low. I think it should be Ravens by 3.5 or 4.
Extra rest.
Yeah.
Extra rest, but
The
What
Ravens
is the
again.
Steelers' best win this season?
Chargers?
Is it
Well,
today?
it would have to be today.
Yeah, probably today. It's
Yeah.
I mean, really they.
I don't play anybody. They haven't played a divisional game yet.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
have
middle of
played a divisional
November.
game, which I was going to hold against them earlier, but then I'm like, well, they'll probably beat the Browns twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll probably lose a game to the Browns.
maybe. Yeah, I think
Maybe.
that spread's too short too. It needs to get. I know those teams are always within 3 points, but
So 3 sounds about right.
it does. But I think that's why the number is 3. But I think Baltimore is certainly better than that. So
All right. There are 4 teams on bye this week, by the way. The Giants, Arizona, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. All on bye weeks.
3 of those 4 teams I will not miss seeing play.
Who?
I'll miss Tampa Bay for the week. They're fun.
What about Arizona? You love them. You said they're great.
I think it's a great. No, I won't miss them. It'll be good for them to have a rest and get ready for the second half. Of
Is
the
it
year.
bad time
I'm sort
for
of adopting the Cardinals as my NFC team for the rest of the year.
Oh no.
Sorry,
You know, I have the
Giants
I've been hoping for the Chiefs in the AFC,
Be a
and I
Chiefs
want them
fan.
to go undefeated because that'll be bad for the Patriots' historical record. But I'm adopting you, Arizona, for the second half. I want you to do well. I'm here to cheer for you. I went out on a limb last week, and I really said nice things about Kyler Murray. And not only did you do it, you did it against my team. So if my team is going to lose to you, then maybe you guys should go deep. So I am going to be an honorary supporter of the Cardinals for the rest of the season.
Fortunately, there'll be no blowback because it's like doing this to the Chargers,
Yeah.
where there's
No,
3
no.
people who are like, "Oh, fuck you, Tim."
Nobody cares. But I think Kyler's a lot of fun, and I'd love to see this as a redemption season.
If you're just tuning in, David Montgomery will not score the first touchdown tonight.
He will not.
There you go. Smash like while you're here, sub to the channel. Next game, Paul Garion is first.
Cleveland Browns at the New Orleans Saints. Jameis revenge.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Saints 2.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh wow.
Makes sense. I was
Well
going to
done.
say 3, but
Everyone looking at the lines early here. Just sharp.
2.5, 3. Yes, it has to be.
Sharp.
I think
Sharpen.
I think that's the first line I've guessed correctly in 3 weeks.
Good job, Garion.
Thank you.
Next game.
You guys all do this every single week now. I think you're getting the feel
Garion's
for
getting
it.
more used to it. He is.
For sure. We got the Packers at the Bears.
Packers coming off bye week. Love should be, we presume, healthy. I've heard that Chicago cannot block.
They cannot.
That is an issue. Packers by 6.
Nope.
6.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
Damn it. All right. 6-2-2 is the standings right now.
Next up.
This would be nice for you if the Chicago could knock off Green Bay.
That'd be a
with,
nice
with your
upset.
Green Bay sucks.
And the Bears
fans.
never beat the Packers, so it would be a nice upset.
Next game.
It'd be really nice for your Cardinals.
The honorary Cardinals that I'm cheering for, yes.
Colts at Jets.
My God, they're going to be favored again.
They are going to be favored.
Oh, my
Your
goodness.
non-honorary team.
Flacco revenge.
Yes.
It's 2.5 or it's 3. Jets by 2.5.
No.
Yeah, it's not high enough. Now, is it 3 or 3.5?
Oh, Garion.
I'm just gonna say 3.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, God.
It is getting juiced, though, Gary, and it may
See,
it may
they're
get to
favored.
3.5.
They don't win games, and they're favored every single week.
They're so public.
I don't understand how week after week after week they lay points at Arizona. They beat the Texans. They laid points against the Steelers. They laid points against they are favored every single week, and they lose every single week. It is the most miraculous thing.
A lot of people live in East Rutherford.
That they
East
know how
Rutherford.
bad this team is. Like, they know better than anybody. They get favored every week except against Buffalo and the Niners, and they lose every week when it's not on Thursday. It's unbelievable.
What's the Jonathan Taylor rushing yards prop set at for this one?
He's going to go
What
mental.
is AP's number? 295? Like, can he get to 296? I wouldn't say it's out of the question, because if Joe Flacco throws the ball more than 6 times, Steichen should just be not allowed to come back on the team playing.
Is there any chance that he changes his mind this week and Richardson starts?
He should. Flacco has been horrible for 2 weeks. Like, the Joe Flacco we saw the last 2 weeks are the Joe Flacco games when he played for the Jets. Like, that's who Joe Flacco was. That's why the
I
Browns
think it
got
is
him
one
for
of those
nothing.
situations. He dug his feet in so deep. He can't go back on this decision.
Well, you can say that, but like, if he doesn't go back on the decision and they lose like all their games, he's going to lose his job. You can't like lose 9 straight games and keep your job when you have your 4th overall pick cooling his heels on the sidelines. When he's healthy, you can't. Like, you lose the room, and then you got to go.
The Colts loss is going to be the one that sticks with me, I think, for the rest of the summer, or the rest of the season into next year. That's the one that hurts the most.
Well, you got a chance to pick this game correctly, Gary. And what is it, Paul?
Rams at Patriots.
Super Bowl rematch.
Rams by 2.5.
Nope.
Rams by 3.5.
Nope.
I'll say 4, but I would have made it like 6.5.
It's 5.5. I was surprised it was so big.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's so big. too.
Short week. West Coast team coming east.
Books
for
still
a
hate the
early
Patriots.
game.
Books still hate the Patriots.
Maybe the weather could be bad. Who knows? It's that time of year. I don't know.
All right, next game.
We got the Raiders at the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh,
Dolphins by 3.5.
Nope.
6.5.
Nope.
Oh God.
Somewhere in the middle, probably.
I'll say 4.5.
7.
Oh my God.
Dolphins by a touchdown.
It has to be. The Ravens are like the Raiders. The books do understand.
What if
When the Ravens
I don't know if they understand
what
the
if
Dolphins.
Ritter starts?
when the Raiders lose, they don't come close. So either you take Raiders money line, or you don't bet, or you can't take the points with the Raiders. They're not a covering team. They're a winning, or they lose by 1 million.
Hey, they covered against Kansas City for Cam.
True. Okay. Fair enough. Everybody covers against Kansas City and loses.
And they covered against the
That is
Rams,
true.
too.
I don't remember that game.
It was 20-15. Remember, they kept kicking field goals?
Oh, yeah.
Instead
Well,
of
they
trying
only
to score a
covered that
touchdown?
game because he kicked a pointless field goal for no reason. Yeah. Okay, great. Sorry. All right.
Next game, Paul.
Vikings at Titans.
Vikings by 4.
Nope.
5.
Nope.
I'll just say 5.5.
6.5.
6.5. Garion gets the point. So Tim's at 8, Garion's at 4. I'm at 2. I started off hot with 2 points. Nothing since. Tim's picking what game, Paul?
We got the Falcons at the Denver Broncos.
Oh,
I don't even know who should be favored.
this is the Simpsons game.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Super Bowl 90.
Super Bowl 33.
Denver Broncos.
Super Bowl 33. 1999. January of 99. Who do you make favored here? Broncos by 1.
Ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
Nicely done, Top Cat.
You're setting the lines this year.
Well, it was either going to be Broncos or Falcons by one. I said, figure I'll take the home team. The Falcons looked so bad last week.
Hot take. Tim works for the books. That's why the not score a first touchdown bet isn't hitting.
He got hired.
We're on to you, Top Cat. Look at him.
You know what?
laughing
I'd finally be
evilly.
happy that he found a way to use his skills to make actual money off of this stuff because he
But
won't bet.
then
So
he-
he might as well get money from the books.
That he basically became William H. Macy in the cooler. The book just hired him
Yeah.
to lurk around the sports book and take all your money, cool you off. Next game, Paul.
Seahawks at 49ers.
I'll say 49ers by 6.5.
Nope.
49ers by 7.
Ding, ding, ding.
I was going to go lower. I was going to go 6.
Not many are going to the third today. You guys are doing really good.
Yeah, well, when I went through the division odds earlier, it was San Francisco plus 150 and 9-1 for the Seahawks. The books just don't like the Seahawks.
Too many points. I would take
I don't
Seattle.
know. I feel like San Francisco dummies
San
them.
Francisco doesn't dummy anybody.
They dummied Seattle like 3 weeks ago in Seattle.
They're an extremely sloppy team. I don't trust that Niners team.
Has their special teams been this bad?
Just
Like the last couple seasons?
something is wrong every week. Like they're not firing on all cylinders. And they had everybody back this week, and they still weren't firing on all cylinders. So I don't know.
Well, they don't have Ayuk. But
Well, they're never going to have him back though. So not this year.
Next game, Paul.
Chiefs at Bills.
Bills by 2.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
It's funny though. Like I was looking at like other books. Okay, no, it's starting to move all that way. Yeah, it's moving. There's Bills are getting
Just
money.
keep
Are
picking.
you
God,
moving
mercy
towards the
on our
Bills or
soul.
Chiefs?
What's that?
Is it moving towards the Bills or Chiefs?
Bills are becoming bigger favorites. It was basically a pick 'em, and now it's getting pushed out. But who knows?
I don't. It's funny because the Bills keep winning these games, but they don't seem super impressive.
No, they're not. But
I mean, at a
Neither is
certain
Kansas
point,
City.
with like Allen today, you're throwing to what? Shakir and Curtis Samuel.
Matt
and-
Collins made one of the best plays of the season today.
yeah, it was a nice play.
Like, very few players are that savvy when it comes down to it. To slide, catch, and get up before you're touched to get out of bounds.
Yep.
They ended up kicking a field goal off that, didn't they, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, right at the end of the half, like he could have got greedy and maybe got an extra few yards. They
No.
didn't have a timeout.
Get
they
out.
wouldn't have got the field goal off. Yeah. Everybody wants a number 3 or 4 wide receiver who blocks well, like Mac Hollins.
Is
He's
this
a special teams guy too.
Yeah.
is this going to be the week that everyone just, hey, Kansas City's an underdog. You always bet Kansas City is an underdog, and they finally lose the game and don't cover it? It's gonna. I feel like it's gonna go one of the two ways. It's either gonna go that way, or everyone's gonna talk themselves into Buffalo winning and they'll lose.
It's
More
tough because the Chiefs haven't looked good all season, or they haven't looked like the Chiefs all
No.
season. They were 9-0. They've looked good, but the Bills also have this stink of they never they got their teeth kicked in by the Ravens, and I know Tim feels this way where the Bills don't beat great teams. But I think Buffalo wins this week. I just think the Chiefs have been sleepwalking. I don't know if you can I just don't know if they'll care. Like, what motivation do they have at this point?
Neither team has much at stake in this game.
The
really.
thing at stake
That
in this
is
game,
true.
if Buffalo wins, they would hold the tiebreak on Kansas City for the 1 seed.
Yeah,
And they'd be a game behind them. That's the only
gives
big
them an
thing here.
outside chance of grabbing the ones. It is true.
Next game, Sunday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's have it.
We got the Bengals at the Chargers.
It's on you.
Chargers by 3.
Nope.
Yeah, so that's too high, I think. Chargers by 2.
Nope.
Chargers by 2.5.
Ding, ding, ding.
There we go.
I got cute.
Well done, Pat.
I cannot win. Tim has clinched victory here, but shall play out Monday Night Football. What a game!
The Texans
Battle of Texas.
at the Cowboys.
That's tough.
Me first?
That's Garion first.
Okay.
God.
I assume Nico Collins will be
Texans
back for this game.
by 5.5.
Nope.
Texans by 7.5.
Nope.
7.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding.
There you are. Tim wins 11-7-4. Once again, reeling off all of these ones.
Nice.
When are they going to start? You said there's a Sunday night game with Dallas coming up?
Well, in a few weeks, they play Monday night, Thanksgiving, Monday night, bye, Sunday night. So later in December, there's a Sunday night game against the Bucks that maybe gets flexed out. There's
gotta-
also a Monday night game against the Bengals. If the Bengals don't play very well in the next couple of games, they did flex a Monday night game out last year, that would be a flexible game out.
Garion, would you have ever thought there could be a possibility that the Cowboys would get flexed out of a primetime game?
No.
And they still might not.
It happened 2 years ago.
I was going to say, until it actually happens, I don't know how much I buy it.
They and the 49ers got flexed out of a Sunday night game 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The year after.
Well, I think they almost came up with I know they've had the Sunday night flex for a while, but I feel like even the Monday night flex became a thing because of that Ben DiNucci game like 4 or 5 years ago. So I think even the Cowboys have their limits in terms of who we will be willing to watch play quarterback for that team.
Yeah. All right. That will do it for us on the Pat Mayo Experience. Recap in the week. Remember to smash the like while you're here. Code Mayo at Underdog, by the way. Garion, just reeling off Underdog winners.
Great to hear.
It's unfortunately you live in Ontario. You can't come along for the ride.
Can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But I love that the people love money.
Yeah. If people keep winning, that's what we want to see. As long as I keep winning and people keep winning, use that code Mayo at Underdog to finish off everything. All right. Like I said, sub to the channel. The newsletter will be coming out later on this evening with the full injury recap, some pickups, some power rankings, and I'll be back with Jake for the full power rankings breakdown on Monday on the Pat Mayo Experience. So I will see you then.